Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder at LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, so we're talking cruises. Royal Caribbean, investors in there are pretty happy with the stock up nearly 30%. Just hit all-time highs going into their results. We've seen some weakness maybe, and maybe not as much bullishness in Carnival and Norwegian cruise lines, but do you guys have the data that supports this massive move that we've seen in the stock?
Yeah, absolutely we do. You know, Royal Caribbean, I think, clearly the best of the bunch in terms of, you know, if you look at LikeFolio consumer happiness data, they lead the pack. They're doing a very, very good job of listening to their customer and giving them the cruise options that those customers want. And we also see Royal Caribbean, you know, dominating the field in terms of web visits. This is a company that, you know, has been the one to come out of the pandemic the strongest. They had to issue the least amount of equity, the least amount of debt in order to survive the pandemic. So they've had the opportunity to grow, to invest in their fleet in ways that others haven't. And, you know, I'll go back to that consumer happiness metric because I think that's the most important one when you think about who's going to be booking cruises and who they're going to be booking with. And Royal Caribbean, you know, quite frankly, has just done a phenomenal job of listening to their customer, of adapting to that customer. You know, they've gone to much shorter cruises, a lot higher quantity of shorter cruises to get more people on board because they're making those people very happy, and because, you know, their target audience is starting to see shorter vacations as a little bit more palatable. And so overall, I think Royal Caribbean just best of the bunch in a industry that is growing.
I couldn't agree more, Andy. They are like the Delta Airlines of cruise ships. They're the best run. They keep it tight. They've got 3 divisions: Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Silver Seas. I've been on 2 of the 3 of those, and 65 ships. They really focus on quality. And how about this stat? Get ready, Jenny Horn and Oliver Rennick, for this stat. 50% of their passengers now are millennials or younger. So they're making the evolution to a younger crowd, and there's the key going forward. Every single month they pay down debt. They're taking market share from the other cruisers. You're right, Andy. If you're gonna invest in a cruise line, this is the one.
Yeah, you know, and that millennial crowd, you know, one of the most interesting things we've seen is that millennial or younger crowd talking about, you know, having to reduce the number of days that they have for each vacation they have because they're running out of vacation days at work. And Royal Caribbean responding to that, adjusting their calendar and offering more 3 and 4 day cruises and less of the 6 to 8 day cruises. I think that speaks volumes not only to the way that this company listens to its customers, but its ability to react to those customers. You know, this is a very complex industry where a lot of times you have to have your calendar set in stone. Some of these companies, you know, 8 months, 12 months in advance, but Royal Caribbean's shown a lot of nimbleness, you know, in their approach to interacting with their customers and delivering what the customer wants. So kudos to them for that.
Andy, you know, a lot of the cruise lines have their own islands now. Royal Caribbean has Coco Cay down in the Bahamas. Is that the differentiator from these companies right now, where it's all in one because you're on a cruise ship, but now they've got these excursions to their own island where they can charge you for just normal things to do that? Is that what sets them apart and, you know, maybe provides a little bit lift for their earnings results coming up?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. They've been able to invest in the experience, whereas, you know, other companies have had to invest in, you know, paying down debt that they took on years ago. And so the Royal Caribbean customer is seeing the advantage of those dollars going into not only the, you know, the private islands or the experiences, but also the ships themselves. They've launched the largest cruise ship in the world, the Icon of the Seas, 7,600 passengers. I think it gets to 10,000 total capacity on that boat when you include the employees and staff. just an unbelievable, unbelievable endeavor. And if I think back to 4 years ago when these companies were looking at potentially completely going under, they were boarding, there were cobwebs on the ships as they sat in port waiting for pandemic restrictions to be lifted. To think about from there to where we are today with Royal Caribbean really has to be considered one of the best companies from an execution standpoint in the world.
Yeah, the stock got under $20 during the start of the pandemic at one point when they were all on rocky ground. Andy, going into this with the gains that we've had, are you guys still bullish on this one? What's your earnings score on it?
Yeah, we're positive on it. The recent run up makes it a little bit tougher, but when you're at or near all-time highs, there's not a lot of supply above you. So I think if we do get the type of report that LikeFolio expects, which should be very good, there's at least a possibility that we hit those new all-time highs and get a little bit off to the races over the next 2 weeks to 5 weeks. I think there's a shot at that. There's also, always the possibility of a pullback, but when you're at or near all-time highs, I like those bullish kind of out of the money bets.
All right, great stuff. Great data as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder at LikeFolio.